welcome to everybody for this, our third topical session. This is Caribbean Girls Hack. We're so happy to have you with us and to have our CGH ambassador, Kelly. Hey, Kelly, who is going to be our host today, along with Josanne and Tawani, who are going to be doing questions. Guys, say hey, hey, hey. So we have been having a great week speaking on lots of topics, and my role here is to just give you a little bit of information about the format of the session. So today is going to be a little different than it was yesterday and the other days, in that we're going to do Makeda, hey Makeda, who is our speaker, and we're going to do Vita first. And then we're going to take your questions, and then afterwards, Makeda has to leave us because she has another obligation, but we're so happy that she's able to be with us. And then we're going to continue discussion between Vita and Ashfred. But we need to hear from you. We need to get your questions. So how it works is that your questions go into the chat, type them into the chat, and we're able to pick them up. And this is an interactive discussion. So we're looking to hear your thoughts, your views, your questions, and the sessions are recorded so that they can be replayed and everybody can see to get information. This is about giving you information about different things that you can explore and innovate on. Now, Kevin, I'm gonna try welcome again to see if we are set. We're set with our poll. So can I launch our poll, Kevin?
Go ahead.
All right. So we have a poll question. Everybody should be seeing it. I know some people are probably still coming on. Have you been involved in activities on increasing your awareness on actions you can take to save our oceans? And our ambassadors can answer those questions too, you know. All right, count down or count up. Looks like it's counting up as against counting down. Well, maybe I shouldn't be talking while this is going on, but the truth is that so many of us, not all of us, being in an island context, and if we're not in an island context, we do have coastlines. So the truth is all of us should really be involved. I've had some experience with Save Our Oceans. My contribution has been not buying coral bracelets. You know those coral bracelets that they do? So I think we're coming up to the close of our poll. And this is good. This is very encouraging, very, very encouraging. So what is showing us, I think that's the end. No, it's still timing. It's not quite finished yet. I think everybody has more or less answered though. We have 40 people on. If you can see the poll, we're asking you to answer and share with us what your experience has been. Have you been involved in activities to increase your awareness on actions you can take to save our oceans? We get a lot more information after this evening, that's for sure. This poll is taking a while. That's it. So 63% said yes. That's great. That's great, right, Makeda? And only 37% said no. And with that, I am going to close out our poll and hand over to Kelly. Handing over to Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm here to introduce our speaker for the night and one of our panelists. Our speaker today is Makeda Akola from NOAA. Makeda is the Southeast and Caribbean Regional Lead for the National Ocean Services Office for Coastal Management with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. She is an advocate for justice and equity in STEM. And Vita Wide, our panelist, is an ocean advocate from the Caribbean island of Montserrat. She works with local communities towards sustainable solutions in ocean conservation. In 2011, she founded Fish and Fins, a nonprofit organization that now provides over 2,000 youth across the Caribbean with opportunities to learn about local marine life and ocean safety. She has also formed long-term partnerships with major organizations such as Brown University and Google's Moonshot Factory. She has also been named 2019 Montserrat Ocean Ambassador. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
All right,
We'll start with Makeda.
Let's start with Makeda. There you go.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Let me get my technology together. I'm going to share my screen. And if Kevin is listening, he can help me with knowing whether or not you're seeing the right thing.
You look really good. Looks
We're
good.
looking good. Cooking with gas.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So good evening, everyone. My name is Makeda Okolo, and as Kelly mentioned, I am based in DC, and I work for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And so NOAA, which we affectionately call our agency, is one of the foremost scientific and environmental agencies in the United States. And we essentially do everything to ensure that we know what's happening from the depths of the ocean all the way to the atmosphere. So if and whenever you come to the States, whenever you check your phone, you check the weather, just know that NOAA is helping you do that, right? And so many other things. But beyond that, the reason why I'm here today is to engage, to talk, and to connect with you. I love the ocean. I'm from a small island, just like many of you. And so that has informed my passion and my love for our coastline. So over the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you a bit about the work that I do, how I got here, a little bit about some of the threats that our oceans are facing, and then finally, of course, how you can get involved. Kevin, can you see my next slide? No, okay.
No,
now you should be able
it
to
didn't
see
move.
it. Okay, I think you should see it now, right?
Not yet.
No, you still can't see it? Slide 2? Can you see my face on the slide? Is it still stuck on the main slide?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So strange. Okay, let's reset it. And then we're gonna go to the next slide. Can you see it now?
It's not. No, it's not moving.
Bring your shared window to the front. You know, technology is only great when it works, right? So let's go ahead. What I may try to do is to stop sharing and then reshare it again, just so that we.
Yeah.
Sometimes, even though you think it's working, what about now? Can you see it now?
No, it's still not. It's still not on.
That is so strange. Okay, we're gonna get it. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna start from the top. Sometimes going all the way back out and then going back in is the best way to get to where you need to go. Okay.
There's 2.
Now you can see my second slide.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so sorry to keep us holding up. But yeah, so just a little bit about me, right? My name is Makeda Okolo, like I shared. First and foremost, I'm a mom. I have 2 sons. Che is 8 and Jasir is 4. And I tell you not only to share a little bit about myself, but in case they come busting through the back door, you know exactly who's coming in, okay? Beyond the oceans, you know, I'm also passionate about other things as well, like generational wealth, which is something that's really important, real estate, and also encouraging young women and young men, specifically of color, to get into the sciences, to get into fields of STEM. Now, one thing you might be wondering is what inspired me to study the environment, right? And so for me, it's coming from a small Caribbean island. I'm from St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands, We are 28 miles long, 84 square miles. So when we say tiny, you know everybody knows everybody, right? But what was important is that every single weekend, my mother made sure that we got away from the TV and we went to the beach. And then by the time I was in high school, my aunt was an environmental science teacher. And so I was constantly planting mangroves with her. I was doing beach cleanups. I was doing roadside cleanups. And when you dedicate so much of your time to the environment and to the ocean, I think you naturally develop a love for it. And then I think just being a woman of the Caribbean, another thing is that we know that our lives are so linked to the oceans, to the coastline, right? We go to the ocean for recreation. We go to the ocean for healing. We go to the ocean, I mean, for our fondest memories, right? And so I felt like there was no better way for me to build my life's work than around a part of the earth that is so critical to us. So right now I work with the Office for Coastal Management within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And our office really is focused on coastal communities. And so we have a few mandates by Congress, which include us focusing on coral reef ecosystems, focusing on national estuarine research reserves, and also focusing on something called our digital coast, which is essentially a platform that we have online. Anyone can access it, where you can find tons of tools, training, services to help decision makers make more informed decisions about how they help to manage and regulate our coastal zones. And, you know, I find it to be a complete honor, right? Because we're working for one of the world's foremost agencies that is focused on science, focused on service, focused on stewardship, and making sure that the vision we have for our economies is in line with the environment, right? So just wanted to kind of give you that beer and give you that context. I'm gonna try going to the next slide. Hopefully it works for me. What about this? Can you guys see it? Just give me a thumbs up. Kelly or Nicole, I can see you. No, you can't. No, but Joanne,
Change. It's still the same page.
it's still the same. That is,
Yeah.
it's so bizarre. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'll just keep talking through it in the interest of time because we don't have time to keep on going back and forth.
Okay, it's okay because do you want Kevin to see if he can operate the slides for you?
Yeah, how about that? Kevin, can you pull up slide 3 for me? And I'll just start talking and then you can let me know when he pulls it up, right? And so what my third slide sort of talks about is what is our impression of the ocean, right? When other people think about the ocean and think about the Caribbean Sea in particular and the Atlantic Ocean, what do they think, right? So the first thing I think that others think when they come to our shores, they're coming to recreate, they're coming to have a good time. And so they're thinking about fishing without abandon. They're thinking about, you know, leaving their cruise ship, laying down on our coastlines, you know, maybe seeing some awesome wildlife. And it is free of responsibility. It is free of obligation, right? Now, we do have some folks who do come and they come with a mission and with service, right? But I would argue that it takes someone who is from the community to care in a way that will really make a difference, right? And I raise that because, you know, we want people to understand that the Caribbean is more than beautiful beaches, wonderful people, good food, nice resorts, right? We have challenges, there's stresses, there are pressures, and there's also opportunity, right? And I think that's where we have to engage and we have to make sure that we are in line with that message. I'm gonna move on to the fourth slide, Kevin. So in case you're trying to catch up with me, you kind of know where I am. So, you know, the next thing I wanted to show you was what are some of the threats that I sort of alluded to, right? There are a number of threats that are facing our oceans, specifically in the Atlantic region where we're all situated, right? So there are things like derelict fishing gear, right? A lot of times there are ways in which we have chosen to fish that are very cultural, right? But inadvertently, there are ramifications to other wildlife that we need to be mindful of. So, you know, things like turtles getting caught up in webs. We know there are things like marine debris, right, that are polluting our oceans. I don't know if some of you have seen this huge, massive trash swirl or circle that's in the middle of the ocean, right? There are other things, like we love our coral reefs. They are charismatic, they're beautiful. But there's right now a disease called stony coral tissue loss disease, which is devastating to our coral reefs. It's a disease that essentially attacks the soft tissue in our corals, and it kills them rapidly. I wish I could show you, there's a really good video of how it has entirely wrapped around the entire island of St. Thomas, the entire island of St. John, and quickly wrapping around St. Croix, right? And we know coral reefs are important, right? Our coral reefs are critical not only for how they look and how pretty they are when we go and snorkel, but our coral reefs are also critical because they are our first line of defense where strong hazards like hurricanes are concerned, right? Other things like oil, right? Oil spills. We have tons of traffic, just like there's tons of air traffic getting us from point A to point B. We know, being from island communities, that we need ships to come in and bring us various goods and services and materials and whatnot. There are often cases where there are oil spills and tons of disasters that are impacting our marine ecosystems. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, I just wanted to kind of get your appetite sort of wet, if you will. But I think the important thing, and I'm on slide 5 now, is to think about, you know, okay, she presented sort of what people think. She presented what the challenges are, what the threats are. The next question becomes, okay, so what do we do, right? Because you've articulated the issue really well, but how are we gonna solve it? And so where I come to the table on this is I strongly believe in young people embarking on careers that are focused on STEM. And that's what this entire conference is about to a certain extent, right? How, you know, STEM, whether it be science, technology, engineering, math, and in instances, art as well, these are the fields that are going to make a difference where our core issues are concerned. Beyond that, I want you all to know that it is totally possible, right? I think sometimes we feel like, oh, you know, I don't want to take that one more math class, that one more science class, but it's worth it. The effort that you put in now is going to definitely yield a wonderful reward later on, because we need, especially people from communities who have these resources, to be the ones that are at the table solving these issues. You don't want to have situations where you have folks coming in from the outside who feel as though they know more about your issues than you do because we haven't taken the time to study them, right? But beyond that, let's just say, for example, that STEM, you don't think maybe being a bench scientist is something that intrigues you. I think something that is awesome to consider is that there is an entire STEM ecosystem, if you will, right? And it takes many, many people to push the engine to get us going. And so whether your interest is communication, art, IT, graphic design, I love politics personally, right? Even if it's legislative issues, you have space to come into the STEM arena. And so when we talk about saving our oceans, I think it's critical that we keep in mind that the health and wellness of our oceans depends on those that know it the best. And those of us that live closest to it have an obligation to be engaged, to be an advocate for the oceans. Because although the oceans don't have a voice, guess who does? We do, right? And so I'll close with that. I can't wait to hear the other speaker. If I'm not here to answer all of your questions, or if other things piqued your interest, please feel free to get my information from Nicole, and I'll definitely connect with you offline. I always love talking and engaging to folks. So thank you. I appreciate being here, everyone.
Well, Makeda, thank you so much. Kelly, guys, we have about 50 something people on. I think some people are writing their questions in, but one of the questions that if I can jump in, Kelly, to ask a question, you know, I think the thing when it comes to save our oceans is something that we don't really, it doesn't seem like we have that enough involved in like civic activities and really school activities. Maybe it's only like on the day, you know? So what could be some ways that there could be like a network that students can get connected to?
So I think a few things come to mind, right? I mean, our youth are connected and versed and experts in technology in a ways that we are not, right? And so I really encourage young people to use the tools that are fun for you, engaging for you, to be advocates for something that is positive and relevant to our future as well, right? Because even though things like climate change can feel really, really far off in the future, every time we get another bad hurricane, we're reminded how serious it is, right? And so what we can do is make sure that we're doing our part, right? So I would encourage young people to get engaged with other young people on the island. Make it fun, right? A beach cleanup doesn't have to be daunting, you hot, you sweating in the sun. It can be fun. Plan a beach cleanup, have a party afterwards that's COVID safe, of course, right? Or do it with your friends, make it a scavenger hunt. Make saving our oceans a part of our culture. Make it a part of the millennial culture. You know, I think one thing that separates millennials from other generations is that you have to feel a sense of purpose. You have to know that you're going to make a change. And realistically, I think it's important for everyone to know that the oceans need us. So whether it be simple things like having a beach cleanup, or maybe it is you're writing to your elected officials and holding them to task, right? And if you feel like your voice isn't counting, that you know that one fills the basket, right? That you get your friends engaged, you get people from other islands engaged, you create a hashtag, you create a trend, you encourage our artists, our business owners, our local celebrities to take a stand, for them to be active. Because guess what? If a bad hurricane comes and our beaches have no sand, nobody's coming. And you know how much we rely on tourism, right? So, you know, think about our ocean health as an extension of our personal health. And we know that our personal health also relies on the environment, right? So I guess that's what I would say. One little step, and then get somebody else to do it, because it's always more fun to do it with someone else than by yourself.
Thank you. Juzan, you said you had a question?
As in, just at the end where I was going to ask, you kind of covered it in terms of, you know, start where you are and then get a friend to get a next friend, and then you can create a, you know, a little community. Why do you think, you know, as in, you know, this Save the Ocean thing, why do you think that it's something that, it's worth spreading to persons about? Why is it so important that we should spread this information? We should tell persons around us that, hey, we need to save the ocean. Because I know a lot of times, you know, you hear it on, you know, commercials, save the ocean, save the ocean. But how is it important in terms of future generations? As in, why is it important for them to understand the need to save the ocean?
So, I mean, I think first and foremost, you know, when we think about saving the oceans, you know, you want to leave your children and your great grandchildren a resource far better than you met it, right? It's like you go into somebody's house. Your parents will always tell you, make sure you leave it better than you met it. If you borrow somebody's toy, give it back in a better condition than they gave it to you. And it's the same thing with our environment, right? First of all, we have an obligation, a moral duty and obligation to take care of our environment. And if you're a religious person, I'm sure there's scripture that talks about that as well, right? So that's sort of like the esoteric, do good, be good sort of reason. Beyond that, we know that our health is being impacted by failing environment. We know that if we don't take care of our oceans, for example, we could be eating fish that are polluted that could impact our health. That's bad, right? We know if we don't take care of our mangroves, for example, if we allow the next big development to come in and rip the mangroves out, we know what, when a storm comes, whoever lives right beyond that area is going to be devastated. So it comes down to our health, and the protection and safety of the things that we care about, right? So it's a matter of life or death. And that seems pretty extreme, but we know how susceptible we are to things like storms. We know folks that have impaired respiratory systems, right? If it gets us so hot, they can't breathe, right? And so taking care of our oceans is important, not only for the sake of the ocean being pretty and blue, but we rely on it for our economy, we rely on it for our food, and also for our health. So that's why we need to take a stronger stance.
Kelly, if you can let me ask one more question.
Yes, I have another question. One moment, let me get my question up.
Okay, if I can just ask a question in the meantime. Makeda, I mean, I think we've heard a lot, especially with the huge damage that they had in, I'm like, is Andros Island? Andros Island in in the Bahamas. Oops. In the Bahamas from the last hurricane. And it was like just like what Jazan was saying, it's like the ocean was everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know? And I think we kind of think of the ocean kind of in terms of like for fishing and that kind of thing. But isn't there interesting information also vis-a-vis the fact that with the climate change, the impact of climate change, can you speak just a wee bit to that? And I know Kelly has a question, the impact of climate change on our oceans and then our hurricanes. So it's like a multiple effect there.
No, absolutely. And you must be reading a private chat here. I have a message from Chrisanne, and Chrisanne asked that same thing, right? She said, pollution isn't the only thing that impacts the oceans. Climate change also impacts the oceans, be it marine life or otherwise, right? And so, yes. So we know that climate change will result in our oceans heating up, right? And so that ramification of climate change can result in our corals being bleached, because when they get too hot, they get really stressed out and they expel their zooxanthellae, right? But we also know that a warming climate means warmer water, right? And you get a hurricane coming off the coast of Africa, it hits the Atlantic, the water is warm, and what happens? Just like a bacteria enjoys a warm, frothy environment, hurricanes thrive on warm water as well. And so it strengthens. And that's why we are having these Category 5 hurricanes hitting us back to back to back. So that's what climate change does. Climate change is resulting in stronger storms, more intense storms, and the frequency of those strong and intense storms is happening much more.
So true. My question though is, where and what kinds of activities have inspired you the most to get active in this topic?
Yeah, so for me, it has been honestly just my childhood, spending so much time on the beach, right? And then for me specifically, I was interested in how can I be at that intersection point where science and policy and economy all sort of meet, right? Because realistically, issues of the environment are something that we call first world issues, right? After you have a house over a roof over your head, you have food on your table, then you have the luxury of caring about the environment, right? And sometimes our scientists don't do a very good job of explaining why these issues are important in plain language that you and I can understand. And so my passion is to find a way for us to get on the forefront, because another just personal passion of mine is I want to see more people that look like me working on these issues and being the leading voices on them. I want to see when you have a table of decision makers talking about what we're going to do to save our oceans, what we're going to do to advance the blue economy, that is people from the community that will benefit from it. And then now selfishly, I have 2 children, right? And I want them off the screen, off the Minecraft, off the Roblox and whatever else they want to use. And they love the beach. We went home for about 6 weeks recently and we were close enough to the beach. So when it was lunchtime, it was put on your beach pants, go down the hill. We go into the beach quickly, you know? And when they're there, they don't think about devices. They just, they enjoy nature. And so, yes, you know, that is what's going to keep us grounded and balanced and in tune with the earth.
Yes, that's a wonderful answer. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We've learned so much. I've learned so much. So thank you again.
Yes, it was wonderful. Nicole, thank you so much for having me. Kelly, you're an amazing host. Kevin, I appreciate you as well. And I hope I can connect with you all in the future at some point. But thanks for having me, and feel free to share my information. I would love to connect more offline, okay?
Thank you so much, Makeda. And any other links or any information that you think that, because we're gonna have a notice board that we're putting up for these young ladies, that you think would be great for them to like understand more about a lot of the great issues you spoke about, you can always shoot that to us and then we'll add them to our notice board. Thank you again. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you. Over to you.
Bye.
Thanks. Yes, stay safe. Over to you, Kelly.
All right, now we will have Vita, one of our panelists.
Hello, everybody.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. Is it Vita or Vita?
It's Vita. It's Vita.
Okay, Vita.
And so, yeah, greetings to Montserrat. It was really wonderful. It's wonderful to be here with you all, first of all. And I really enjoyed Makeda's presentation just now as well. So yeah, I'm on the beautiful island of Montserrat. Some of you might have seen or heard of this already, but we're a volcano island. We're right next to Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis. We can also see Guadeloupe from where we're located. And it's an island of 4,500 people. In 1995, our volcano erupted, and it meant that half of the population were relocated to the UK. There was a voluntary evacuation. I was one of those people that was voluntarily evacuated to the UK. And so that's where I stayed for nearly 15 years. And in 2011, I returned back home to Montserrat and decided that I wanted to be a part of the island's redevelopment. And before then, I was working in fashion, like I was a style advisor for a trendy UK store called Topshop and other stores. One of the companies I worked with in terms of sustainable fashion is a company called Bottle Top. So they would actually get ring poles, which are the tops of the cans of Coke, and they had them woven together by women in the Brazilian favela, and it was embedded in beautiful mulberry leather and sold in very high-end stores. They made a lot of money from that, and funds actually went to do community work. So I was really inspired by my travels. I went to Africa while I was in UK, and I mixed with so many different cultures and had a very sort of widened experience about life and the challenges that we're facing on the world. And I really wanted to live a more impactful life. I wanted to do something for my country and my people. And in the UK and big cities like that, you're one of so many billions or millions of people. And, to be able to come back to my island and also to the Caribbean to actually help do something that I love was really important to me. So I'm going to share a quick video of some of the work that I'm involved with here. I started a kids ocean club called Fish and Fins. We teach children here how to swim, snorkel, and protect the ocean. And I started it without anything but the will to make it work, being worried about people drowning, children drowning, parents not being able to save them, and many people not being able to enjoy and immerse in the ocean's environment safely, which to me meant that we wouldn't be as inspired to care for it, as well as we were also not having as much accessibility to some of the jobs and opportunities that will come in this space. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'm going to show you a little bit of some of our work.
It's rebuilding time. All month's presence abroad. Please come.
We can hear the sound, but I'm not seeing the image.
Sounds awesome.
Tell me again, you can't see the video?
No, I hear the sound, but no image. Not yet.
Oh, that's really weird. Technology is not really being our friend today. Right, so let me put a link to the video in the chat. Maybe that's going to be more useful. And I'll stop sharing my screen. I will just talk for a little bit because I had videos to show you, but if they're not going to work, then I'm going to just pop them in the chat room.
How do videos if you want me to try to share it?
Yes, maybe
So-
you can share them from your screen, Kev.
Okay, yeah, sure. I just sent it in the chat, Kevin. So give that a go for me, please.
Just give me 1 sec.
Today's session is also called How to Flex with Tech.
Yeah.
Presence abroad. Me. Nobody go run me away from me country. Yeah, me go stay till kingdom come. Sometimes we shake and rumble, act up now and then, but paradise will settle down again. I love every hill and gully, every drop, stream and valley. She's still my emerald city, Montserrat nice, nice, nice. Despite the danger.
So yeah, so that's our Kids Ocean Club, and part of it, which is aimed towards young people like yourselves, actually 15 to 25. They get involved in swimming, snorkeling, ocean science, and advocacy work as well. So you see a little bit of a glimpse of what that looks like, and also a little bit of a view into Montserrat. If you could share the next video, and I'll show you one of the projects that we do in terms of education and outreach with the local schools.
Yeah, sure. I'll cue it up now. That's the pollution, the plastic pollution.
Yes,
Plastic
yeah.
pollution? Perfect.
Yes, that's it.
All right, give me a sec.
Thank you.
to do project on pollution. I was in team butterfish, and I was a writer, so I had to write down types of debris and the amount, and I also had to write down some microorganisms and microorganisms that we found at Margarita Bay. And then I also got a chance to see fish at the pool, and I got to learn that there's bacteria around.
Yeah, so that gives you a little bit of an insight into some of the outreach work that we've done. You can always watch these links later on if you so wish. And yeah, so to follow on to what Michaela said, when I started this program, really, I had no science degree. I had no I could swim. I had just started to scuba dive, but there were many pieces of the puzzle that weren't quite together. But I had this really strong passion to do something about it. And so I started with what I had and where I was. And I spoke to my fisher friends. I got ex-police officers. I got, dive instructors, dive masters, and I connected with friends and connections that I had across the world who would volunteer and come to work with our program. So over the last few years, this program has developed to the point that last year my program was actually recognized as an international leader in conservation in the Global Ocean Award. And that's just Vita Wade from tiny Montserrat without any any degree. You just love seawater, right? So, and I love my island, and I love my people, and I just know that we want to stay safe. And there's a hell of a lot of, pardon my language, there are so many opportunities within the ocean space that require women, leaders, innovators, actionists to be involved. And this is your time, this is your opportunity. And I'm living proof that you can, once you have the will, then the tools are given to you and the supporters will come and help you. And so that's a little bit of my story. Outside of my nonprofit Fish and Fins that I operate here, I also had a tour business. I've had a sustainable seafood restaurant, and I started a conference this year called the Aqua Caribbean Blue Economy Conference, and it's really tapping into the network of folks that I have worked with over the years within the region and also across the world who are focused on providing opportunities and sharing stories, also highlighting some of the innovations that are happening across the Caribbean, learning from those that are happening internationally, and collaboratively and equally working with partners to see that more opportunities like this can actually be open to young people like yourselves. So that's the Aqua Caribbean Blue Economy Conference. And if you've missed it, I'll be posting replays very soon. So that's a little bit about the work that I do. And I'm just here to also encourage you that it's all very possible. There are huge opportunities that require us to be a part of them. And yeah, so go for it.
Wow, Vita, I just have to say this is amazing work that you're doing, and it's so inspiring for me. The fact that you just went ahead and you just did it because of the love of your country, I really do find that so amazing. I just have one question, and I love your story, by the way. So do you think that anything else needs to be done? What more can we do to contribute?
There's so many things that can be done. There's so many things that can be done, and I think connecting to like-minded people that sharing your passion is very important. Your tribe matters. That you've heard that saying before, and I really think it's true, because sometimes, when you're doing you're change agents. You're doing big thinking, sometimes outside of the box thinking that maybe is not mainstream in your country. You may seem to be a little bit weird. I was like, why is she doing that? What's she trying to be? All these types of things come into play. So finding people that will inspire you, encourage you, mentor you, and support you is all available. The Aqua Caribbean Blue Economy Conference, you can like us on Instagram. There's Fish and Fins. You can also follow. There's the Ocean Heroes Boot Camp that recently happened in the Caribbean. That's linking the Caribbean also to the global picture. So you can also register to be a part of that when that happens. And also just being really mindful on social media. Now everybody's on social media. There's interesting people. A close friend and inspiration for me has been Ayanna Johnson. And she is American and also from Jamaica. And she's a phenomenal powerhouse of support for women of color, blazing a trail in science and conservation. There's also, people in the UNDP in Barbados, people like Dr. Shelley-Ann Cox, There's so many fantastic people, and I think if you follow our stories on social media, you'll see folks connecting, and feel free to reach out to folks as well, and tap into this network, because it's all rising. You can follow my page on Instagram. I also try to share as much of the community of scientists and innovators and researchers that's doing interesting things.
I see Bridget has her hand raised. Go ahead, Bridget.
Hi, Kelly. Sorry, I was having serious problems getting on, so I'm so happy that I'm here. Hi, Vita. We have a mutual friend, Zena.
Oh, yes.
I'm the Bridget that she keeps talking about, and it was just so funny because you're connected with Nicole. So I wrote her to say, guess what? Talk about serendipity. You know, Vita and Nicole connected because we were talking about having you join for the hackathon in some way or form. So this is what serendipity is all about. So thank you so much for taking the time. And I really wanted to ask a question, Vita, as it relates to the Caribbean region. What do you think is the most pressing issue that we are dealing with here in the Caribbean as it relates to our ocean? You know, is it pollution? Is it the degradation of the coral reefs, which, as you know, there are many, many issues that come as a result of that, including the complete degradation of entire coastal communities as a result of, coral reef degradation. So I just wanted to find out, what do you think is the most pressing issue for us here in the Caribbean? And what are we, what can we do about it as having all of these young women in tech who are interested in these types of issues?
Yeah, good question. Great question. And it follows on nicely from the one that was asked to me before. And I think that education and awareness is a massive issue. And I think it's fundamental to everything, is making your friends, your family, our policymakers, partners and collaborators, anyone that's in your circle, it could be church groups, social groups, aware of what lies beneath the ocean, why it's important to you, and to get really immersed in this space. So to learn some of the key facts, which you right now online, you can research and source it yourself. You can speak to contacts, collaborate with scientists and researchers. You've got Makeda, who's already offered her expertise to support you. So education and education awareness comes in all sorts of really fun, creative things. You can do, your videos, your vlogs, which is all part of the hacks, just posting things. And I think this is one of the things that when I first came to Montserrat back home in 2011, I didn't find many people swimming, snorkeling. It was such a struggle to get girls to come out to meet with me snorkeling and diving. And so I ended up spending all my time with local fishermen. And so I got an underwater camera, and everything I did, I posted on Facebook. And so I'd post me and my friends having fun. I'll post all the different species of fish and coral and share facts. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, wow, all that they underneath they don't know about, and people start getting all excited about it. People then start to, recognize our decision makers begin to start to see, well, this is important to people. We need to protect it. But before we even begin to protect it, we have to value it. And I think this is one of the most critical points in time right now. We have the Caribbean that is, we are in a sort of rebirth and we're reshaping ourselves. COVID has happened. Economically, we're in many ways vulnerable, and there's going to be so many different opportunities that are going to come our way. A lot of them are happening within the blue economy, and I would suggest to all of us to get acquainted with what a blue economy means. What are the jobs and opportunities and development opportunities that could happen through a blue economy? Some of them are going to be really positive. Some of them, like oil drilling and deep sea mining and other types of development, could be very destructive to our very valuable marine ecosystem. And so by your education and awareness of your circle of influence, then you're now able to work towards handing the baton on, where the conversation moves from just education and value, but really seriously about how we're going to protect this for generations to come. So it's a lot of work in a way, but it starts in a very simple way. And I think, to answer your question in short, education and awareness in any way you can, in whatever skills you have, is really critical.
Okay, I love what you said about, the more you know is the more you value, and the more you value is the more you protect.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that sort of becomes the chain,
And it's huge value.
Yeah, simply dropping a plastic bottle into the ocean, if you understand the ripple effect of that plastic on a very valuable commodity. So thank you.
Yeah.
Bridget, just picking up on what you're saying about the plastic there, was it on Tuesday we were hearing, I heard Alex say that we're eating plastic in our fish, Vito.
Yeah.
I was like,
I've seen them.
what?
I've seen fish.
We're actually eating the plastic. How is it possible that we're able to even digest that?
Yeah, when it's being absorbed into the muscle of the fish. It's breaking down into tiny microplastics, being absorbed into the muscle. Then we eat the fish meat, tastes good, but in effect, we're eating plastic. And I've seen fish, and we've seen these. We've been able to show kids at the fish and fins while snorkeling. Fish sometimes they're sort of like swimming around and trying to bite onto something, and when you look at it, it's a piece of plastic that has broken apart and just in the waterway. So yeah, it's a very real threat that we are dealing with in regards to plastic pollution, and how it compromises not only our health but our economy. And again, for me, and all the work that I have been doing with regards to ocean education awareness, it all boils down to money. And I think Makeda again alluded to this, is that generational wealth is important. A lot of our people are in poverty. A lot of opportunities are coming into the ocean space, and we need to be able to benefit it. And the wealth needs to stay in the Caribbean. Tourism didn't achieve this for us, and the blue economy and the ocean space and ocean opportunities can. And this, to me, is going to be, it has been our legacy left by our forefathers in the space that we have, the beautiful Caribbean that we all call home. And so this legacy and this value, this tremendous value, which scientists come in from all over the world to explore, to make projects on, I don't know, there's huge money going around to run projects, and the projects are being run by international schools and colleges. Why can't you run a project? You can run a project. And it matters, and how you start to do that is by getting educated, building your circle, and just doing it. Sometimes it's just simple as that, doing it. You see there's a problem and try to fix it. The help is going to come. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. Like one of our studies in Trinidad, one of the big issues is bioaccumulation of heavy metals and in the fish. And again, we don't know we're consuming that, so that's a huge problem as well. And again, a lot of research has to be done into it. But again, there's the will to get it, or even the financing, like you say, to get those kind of studies done.
Yeah, exactly. It's an opportunity for you all to choose wisely with regards to the choices that you make at school, in university, in college. This is a space in regards to STEM and the ocean that has tremendous need for you and for your solutions. And it also needs to come from a local perspective. It's very difficult for folks to have international, what works in Germany or the US or, even South America might not necessarily work for our islands. So we need to be able to look at it from your lens. And this is why it's important for you to get educated in this space. But also get creative and think creatively, because it could be that somebody, some organization in the country that you're in has instruments to sample water quality, something as simple as that. Get familiar with what those instruments are. Ask them, can you come and volunteer? Can you come and learn? Use those instruments, dip them in the water and figure out what happens next. I have a friend and a colleague, I would like to call him, in Johannes. Johannes started a company called Algos Organics in St. Lucia, and it makes, you might have heard of it, but he uses the sargassum seaweed, and takes the properties from the sargassum and makes fertilizer. And if you're on Instagram, you can check them out. It's Algas Organics. I'll put it in the chat. And and Johannes didn't finish school, and when I asked him, what science did you do to figure this out? How far did you go in college and university and so on? Is this an MIT grad? And he said to me, Vita, I just looked on YouTube, and his company now is scaling. It is scaling across the Caribbean and is scaling across the world. He's looking now for licenses to sell to the United States. So that's a local guy.
Resource right
And
here.
it's a resource, yes. And it just took him using his initiative, being proactive and being focused on finding a solution to this problem that was washing up on his shores all the time. So, don't necessarily think that problem is too big or that you haven't got the resources. Start where you are at, step by step. The solutions will create themselves.
We need
And the
him in
resources will
Barbados.
come.
You need him in Barbados?
Oh yeah, sargassum is everywhere.
Yeah, and there's so much opportunity too for researching sargassum and to really find out what's going on, what's its impact on the environment.
Exactly. Well, I mean, all of that
Yes.
has to do with, climate change and the ways
Yeah.
in which, affecting the growth of the sargassum and how it's bringing it closer to the shore.
Yeah, warming sea temperatures has been considered to be that, as well as some of the farming practices and chemicals that are being used as well could be creating this overgrowth of the sargassum. So there's a lot to learn and to get aware of. And as you learn, share. As you learn, share with others. Learn and teach, and that's the best way to learn.
And also through learning and teaching, others will be included in this.
Absolutely. Exactly. And the education and outreach, like I said, is quite fundamental.
Thank you so much, Vita, for speaking today. I have learned a lot. Ladies, I hope that you've learned as well. We're gonna move over to Ashfred now. Before he begins, let me just say a quick intro. So Ashfred is a board member of the Dominica Youth Environment Organization and has been the co-director of the Youth Climate Change Activists, a regional climate activism group in 8 Caribbean countries for the past 3 years. Recently, he has been elected as the chairman of General Assembly for the National Youth Council of Dominica. He represented at COP23 following the passage of Hurricane Maria. Some of his most recent work in climate activism features partnerships with local organizations such as the Bureau of Gender Affairs, the Ministry of Education, Junior Achievement Dominica, and more. Welcome, Ashfred. Good to have you tonight.
Thank you so
had
much,
some-
Albania. I had a couple of hiccups in the beginning.
some great presents.
I'm very grateful for being here. I'm very glad that I get to really share with you guys this evening.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm new to the discussion. I haven't been privy to a lot of what was discussed before. But in light of our oceans, I know that we are here to learn more about our oceans, learn more about how we really protect and preserve our oceans. I mean, a lot of the times we look at ways in which we can protect the things that we can see on land, such as our environment, our environment that we actually walk on the land, but we never really take into consideration really our oceans, a lot of the things and the things that we do. One of the main things that I really wanted to touch on or speak on tonight is how our community waste management affects our ocean. A lot of the times we tell people, not to throw things into the ocean, whenever you have some garbage, whenever you have some, whatever you may have, and you see someone throwing it in directly into the ocean, you tend to tell them, that's a bad thing to do, you shouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, how does our waste, community, how does the waste from your home actually end up into the ocean? You might say that you're living very far from any body of water. However, at the end of the day, there is the possibility, and there are the times when actually our waste from our homes journey to the ocean, and there's actually this entire process by which our waste in our community, our waste in our homes actually affect um, the cleanliness of our oceans. So I really just want to touch on that a bit. In terms of some of the research that has gone into that to actually show that waste from our homes really impacts our ocean. I can remember when I had just joined the Dominican Youth Environment Organization. I remember the president at the time, he was speaking on a survey or a study that the organization actually carried out here in Dominica, because there was this certain beach, we organized beach cleanups, an annual beach cleanup every year. And they just didn't understand how there was this certain community that would clean the beach today, tomorrow it is completely dirty again. They come back the next week, they clean it again, and then the next day it's the complete same thing. And we just felt that, we were not getting anywhere with that beach, and we wanted to understand that really how was this beach getting that dirty so fast. And one of the things we realized is that the waste actually wasn't coming from people who would directly go to the beach and dump on the beach. The waste was actually coming from the ocean. The ocean was bringing garbage and rubbish onto land. And what another thing we realized is that the garbage wasn't our garbage. The garbage didn't come from Dominica. It wasn't Dominica's garbage. What they did is that they took a ferry, they took a boat, and what they saw is that garbage started to travel from neighboring islands and found its way onto Dominica's shores, on Dominica's beaches. So that just goes to show how improper waste management actually not just impacts your country, but it also impacts neighboring islands. And I just want us to think of the ocean as this world by itself, this ecosystem by itself. We know we have our ecosystems in our forests and so forth, but the ocean is actually a living, breathing organism on its own. So when we don't properly manage our waste in our homes, in our communities, then we tend to not only impact our environment, but that impact that we're having on the environment, on our land, on the earth, on land, it actually transfers now to the ocean. Now we're having a double impact right there. It's a multiplier effect. It's a domino effect actually. So you're not only impacting land, you're also impacting the ocean. And that just goes to show how when we're not careful, when we're very careless with our waste, when we're very careless in general with our economic activity, it really, really, really impacts the environment. Whether we see it happening directly, improper management in general really just impacts every sector, whether we see it or not. So that's just, what I really wanted to evening. Not too sure if you guys have anything else you want me to clarify on. I hope I was very clear in what I said. The explanation really helped. So can let me know if anything.
You're so clear, Ashfred, sorry. Nicole actually raised a point in the chat. She said that all our seas are connected, and so true. It's so true. All of what you said is so true.
Yeah.
I was told that Jazani has a question. Jazani?
Yes.
Hello, good evening again, everyone. As in, it wasn't just a question. I think it was more like a comment off of what he would have said and the lady before. As in, I believe that platforms such as these are very important because we're not only raising awareness, but we're also teaching, girls about the importance of, saving our ocean. One thing to point out as well is that many of us, you know just because you're not seeing it, it's not happening to you, like you're not seeing the disaster, or you're not seeing the implications that it's having right in front of you, we believe that it's not important. And a lot of persons, I am very interested in these things, but not many persons, they may sit down and listen to this and say, oh, this is boring, yeah, I hear you, save the earth, yeah. And so it's not as engaging. So one of the things I think we need to do, because we're always looking at solutions, is the hackathon is something very important where we can use apps, different applications to create fun out of these things. So it's fun, as in it's not just all information that yes, man, we need to save the ocean, but it's actually, like when you get assignments, you get projects, you get get awards, so it's like it keeps people engaged. And so I believe that once people are engaged, that it will remember it more. Like in a classroom, a teacher will talk, 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 talk. But if you probably have the children hands-on, seeing the things, manipulating the different things, or even using the online platform, probably creating an app, or it's fun. It's more like, I can't wait to get onto this to learn more about this. I'm not just learning because, oh, it's important, but I'm learning because I'm genuinely interested in it. And if I'm really interested, that means I will want to share it with people. And it's fun. So just like when I have an app on my phone, or I have a game that I love to play, I believe that, there's not a lot of platforms, especially when it comes down to real issues, as in real issues other than just save the earth, where it's not brought out to the public as fun. So yes, we have these discussions and we have these things, but they're not seeing it as in, they know that it's important, but it's not attractive. It's not saving the ocean. Yeah, we know it's important, but they're only doing it because it's important, not because they actually want to learn about it and share it with other people. So how do you suggest ways in which we can make it fun, make it interactive? Some persons can probably an online simulation, I don't know, something that can make it fun, as in, so probably a competition, if you understand what I'm trying to say. I hope I'm clear. I may sound kind of all the place. So how do you think we can make it fun, that people want to do? Because yes, you have persons who are interested. I myself is interested, so whether or not it sounds fun, I still like it. But how about reaching persons who they don't, these things will never be important, if you understand what I mean?
I really love the question, Josiah. It's very timely actually, because as a young person, well, as I was recently elected on the National Youth Council of Dominica, whenever we're drafting projects, whenever we think of things that we want to do that positively impact the young people, we also think of the elements of, all right, we know that this is an issue in the country. We know that this is a solution to solve this issue, but are the youth really going to be interested in that solution? Are they really going to be interested in the process? So we know that it might be a boring thing per se, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that the solution is important, just as the process of getting there. And one of the things we really realize is the impact, or how heavily young people use social media. Like, oh no, this is a social platform and we're all engaged on it. I mean, studies have shown that people have their phones in their hands more than the amount of times, they look up to watch where they're really going. And I can testify to that, whenever I walk on the street, I'm always in my phone. I mean, I can probably bounce into a pole, but I'm always on my phone. And a lot of people, whenever they think of, how do we get the youth engaged, they try to go into so many different technical, look for how much, sophisticated and technical solutions. But I mean, it's right on your phone. And as you rightfully said, apps and games and so forth, these are easy ways to really introduce, especially young children, when it comes to games and apps and so forth. Older Gen Zs like myself, we don't really, I really don't have games on my phone. So you more really have to catch me on social media, catch me on TikTok, catch me on Snapchat or something like that. Probably get like a TMZ, something to do a nice little feature, get a celebrity, that's how you'll engage me. But for younger Gen Zs, like probably my little sister who's like 11 years old, she has so many games on her phone. And if you have some games, for example, the waste management that I was speaking about, have a game which really teaches them how to dispose of their waste effectively. Have these little things that really can impact the young people. And I mean, as you go from level to level, you have to change the method that you're using. You're not going to use the same technique that you use for my little sister with me. So I mean, we really have to do a lot of like, well, I'm a digital marketer, and I'm a budgeting digital marketer. So what we really do is that we do a lot of market research. You really have to know your target audience. You really have to know the young people. So you do your research, you find out what they love, what they like. It's not just about what you think is interesting, what they might be interested in, but it's what they're genuinely interested in. The voices of the young people, I really feel like it's underrated. A lot of times when policymakers and decision makers they take decisions, it's based on what they think young people are interested in, and not necessarily like what the young person really is genuinely interested in. So that's another thing. Before we can really, we know the problem, we know the solution that we want to achieve. However, the process to get us there, before we actually start making plans and stuff up to get there, we really have to do our research, know what the young people like, know what they want, and create that pathway to get there. So, like you said, the apps are a great idea. I believe social media is also great too. TikTok videos, all these things. I mean, you don't have to. You can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink. So I just believe that we need to put right. We need to present the solutions to the young people, give them the tools, empower young people, empower them. You don't necessarily need to hold young people's hand to do everything. You give them the tools, you give them the resources. We will do what we have to do with it. We'll come up with creative new solutions to do what we have to do. But at the end of the day, just empower the young people, give them the necessary tools that they need. And we wouldn't even have certain issues that we're dealing with today if we just listen to our young people. So that's, from my perspective, that's how I see it.
Thanks. Yes, I completely agree. And I believe too, once we're very intentional about it, as in like, and consistent. Because I remember there was this little thing.
Oops.
What happened?
I don't know. I think our sound got cut.
Just honey, you're mute.
I was just going to say, Josanne, yes, wait to mute. Josanne, hold on. I was just going to say, Ashfred, I'm not sure if we have our young ladies from Barbados last year. No, it wasn't last year, 2019. They created a gaming solution, right, to for young, I think it was like primary school age kids with the turtle, and their solution and their idea actually won the hackathon in Barbados. Was to be used by primary age school kids in terms, and it was like making points, gaining points, and all of that kind of thing. So it was a working prototype of a game, I think, and we can. That's exactly the kind of thing that needs to be done, not just visiting and going to do the beach cleanup, like you say, but actually having those games, right? That's what you're saying, so that the kids can be doing that from early. And that's one way, Josanne, that it's fun, right? Right, Ashfred?
Yeah, definitely, yes. I totally agree. If we have more, I wasn't, before you guys contacted me, I really wasn't aware of the Girls Hackathon, but as soon as I read up on it and I really got into the literature, like I was very, very impressed, and I really look forward to something like this coming to Dominica. I'm ready to welcome it. We would really.
We welcome Dominica also, Ashfred. Yes, right, Bridget? Yes, Kelly, we welcome Dominica very much so.
This is really amazing, and
all they have to do. So we're looking to you in Ashford. All you have to do is share the link with them to register for the hackathon, right, Kelly?
Yep.
Nice.
Everything's online.
Nice. We will definitely speak after this, because this is a worthwhile initiative, and I really feel that this is something that the young girls of Dominica can really, really benefit from.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Ashfred, for your words. Wow, these presentations are just so good. Nicole, don't you agree?
Thank you very much.
Definitely. The thing that is so inspiring, is the fact that some of the things that you're speaking to, Ashfred, we know that we've seen some of these things actually being done, Kelly, right? By some of the, like I said, the gaming solution that was done by the team that won in Barbados. And Dominica, you would have so many interesting aspects as well with your black sand beach, with your sulfur springs. I mean, you know, this is one thing that's amazing. I think we have right, Ashford, in the different islands have different things that can actually even inform, which is why I thought it was so true, Kelly, when he said, you know, all of our seas are connected.
Yes, definitely.
Well,
But I really feel that, you know, the different elements, especially since you're making reference to the sulfur springs and so forth, because I live in a sulfur spring hotspot, like I have sulfur springs like right outside my home. So I feel I feel like including into this, man, it can just skyrocket this initiative. I really love it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, mine was broken off.
Yes. Do we have time for one more question, Nicole? I got one directly here on Zoom.
I think you should post it. Go ahead.
All right. So Rosalie, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. She asked, how can we as students contribute to keeping our oceans and corals healthy? If yes, that's a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's a question for me.
It's for anyone on the panel, Vita or yourself.
Okay, so I have a very simple solution on how to keep our oceans and our corals healthy. The first one, especially for our corals, I can remember I'm going through social media this week and actually some posts on some people scuba diving, doing some deep sea diving, and they're actually putting their initials and actually writing on the corals and damaging them. Like when I saw this, it was very disheartening because just imagine the role that the corals really play in the oceans and ecosystems. That I mean, in the Caribbean, whenever hurricanes and storms are coming, the corals they provide a protective barrier to break the waves so that it doesn't necessarily impact us as hard when the waves are making landfall. And just think of all the other contributions that these corals actually make to the oceans. And scuba divers are paying lots of money just to go to the bottom of the ocean and put, if it's Kelly, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Kelly was here. I mean, that's very it's unfortunate, and I feel that some education around that whenever these agencies are facilitating this, just tell the deep sea divers these are some of the things that you can do, these are some of the things that you should definitely not do, and probably have a diving instructor. They should have diving instructors, especially when you're not a professional diver. Someone usually goes with you. So have that person as a monitoring agent to ensure that the rules are kept, and there should be rules of the sea or so forth when you're entering into that environment. So I believe that that's one way we can definitely protect our seas and protect our corals. And I just really want to echo the statement of waste management. Guys, you might not see it right now. You might think that, okay, I put my trash in the garbage, I probably put it outside, and some dogs they burst open the garbage bags, it entered on the street, some of it ended up in the drains, and you might pick up what you see on the street. Probably the rain and the water washed away what was in the drain, and you don't think about it. But at the end of the day, it's going to end up into the rivers, it's going to find its way into the oceans, and it can even pollute our own water source. In Dominica, we rely heavily on our rivers, like we have 365 rivers, so we really rely heavily on those. So we try our best to keep our rivers clean, but what about keeping other waterways clean and other waterways that actually lead into the ocean? Drains should also be kept clean. And I kind of get away from how important it is really to manage our waste effectively. So that's my contribution.
Thank you so much, Ashford, for joining us this evening.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. I was a little tired because I had a few classes and some school and some work, and I was a little tired. But I came on here. I love the energy. I am inspired by this initiative, and we will definitely, speak after this live on how Dominica can
Most
really
definitely.
be a part of it. Yes, thank you so
Right,
much.
Kelly. He's bringing Dominica to the table, so everybody
Yeah.
needs to look out for Dominica.
For
At
sure.
least how many teams you're going to be bringing from the Dominica? We're not going to put you on the spot now, but we're definitely looking to see, because Dominicans are going to be bringing, a lot of information from an island
Yeah,
perspective that we don't have.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Can't
Thank
wait for
you.
that. And I hope everyone's taking notes of all these solutions, these different ways that we can contribute to our oceans. There's so many ways. We just need to start. Thank you so much again, Ashfred.
No problem. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Kelly, I think there's a raised hand from Bridget.
Oh, I'm not seeing that. Bridget, go ahead.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks a lot, Ashfred, for your contribution. And we really are excited about having a team from Dominica. I don't know if you know Anita and Alwyn Bully, but Anita Bully is excited about the possibility of having Dominican girls participate in the hackathon. So,
Nice.
yeah, so I'll let her know that you're on the case to get that
For
team
sure,
together.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
definitely.
she's been talking to us for a while about bringing the hackathon to Barbados, to Dominica. So now that is virtual, the sky's
Yeah.
the limit, or the ocean's the limit. But I just wanted to, it was interesting as I was listening to you and listening to Vita, and the common thread is education. I think you even said when you were talking about people, inscribing their names on the coral reefs, you said something like, imagine if they knew the damage that they were doing. And you're so right. I think a lot of times people act in certain ways simply because they do not fully understand the repercussions of their actions. So I think it's really, really important, just, listening to yourself, listening to Vita and Makeda, that we really improve on that aspect of, understanding what are the things that are detrimental to the blue economy, what are the things that are detrimental to the oceans and, to the ocean and to climate change.
Thanks so much for that, Bridget. Vita, do you have any final words, any final comments before we wrap up tonight?
I'm just having so much to say, and I'm loving listening to everybody. Kelly, you're a fantastic host, and Nicole and team. I mean, this is a fantastic program. I'm just so happy to see so many, Caribbean faces here. Young, enthusiastic, bright, engaged, passionate, and full of progressive ideas and mission. So congratulations for that. And there was a couple of things that came to mind as everybody was thinking and talking, and I was thinking about things. And one of them was to do with one of the last questions, and it was, what can young people do, school kids do, and so on. And I thought, if you really sort of look at a lot of the pollution that's heading towards the sea, a lot of it is to do with junk food. It's everything junk related, and I know how hard it is. I'm on my own struggle here, trying to eat healthily and have a good diet. And I don't want to preach, but we have to look after ourselves. We want to stay looking good, feeling good, living long, doing the good work. It needs a lot of energy, it needs a lot of courage. Your mental health needs to be on point. And all of that goes back to the food we eat. So we're looking after ourselves, but at the same time, there are so many our oceans are getting, our coral reefs are getting damaged significantly by the plastics, by the oil fishing lines, and all sorts of things. But really, it's the junk food related stuff. You know, the cans, the plastic and styrofoam. These things are strangling coral, and the more you see and dive and get involved in the coral in the underwater space, you'll notice that as well. So try to be more mindful of what we eat and also the containers we use and so on. So if you can go a week or encourage your classmates or your school or your whoever is supplying your food to go plastic free 1 week, that would be a good initiative. If you can come up with a solution which educates people as to, you know, what this is doing, or to even show pictures and collaborate. Remember to collaborate. This is a huge, big work. And so we can't always do it all on our own. This is why we have a wonderful network that like Caribbean Girls Hack. So collaborate with people and try to get some of the information. If you don't even have underwater images, speak to the organizations that do and plot it into your program, your game, your app, whatever it is, your vlog, and then credit them. They'll appreciate the collaboration, and out of that more work may come, more support may come, and people become more aware of your interest in this space. And the other thing, when, you know, I know at an event like this, there's so many ideas that are going through your mind. What can I do? What can I do? The solutions are so, like, we need so many solutions. The challenges are so massive. Everything from how the corals are doing, to how the fish are doing, to how the fishermen are doing, to what the tourists are doing, all sorts of things. But I would say my best advice is to do what you love, right? Just come up with an idea that makes you feel happy. Don't try to please anybody else. Don't try to necessarily win anything. Yeah, of course you want to win, but the best place to start is in analyzing what makes you happy, what is going to interest you in this conversation, what's piqued your interest, what do you think you're good at, you know, what are you passionate about? Is it singing, dancing? It doesn't have to be anything to do with the sea itself, you know. You can get creative and sort of cross-pollinate your ideas. So you know, do what you love, what you feel passionate about, what you feel excited to do, because you're going to meet roadblocks, you're going to meet mind blocks, you know, you're going to meet all kind of blocks. And so it's important to be really in sync with what is coming from your heart. And in that way, no matter what block you've come across, you will find a way around it, because it's work that is really close to your heart, your spirit, and people also see that and support that. Your idea, your hack might not even be the best, but the way you sell it, the way you're passionate about it, is going to have Nicole and the judges and everybody else well impressed. and then they'll probably give you the extra points just for that, psychologically. So yeah, I think do what you love, always do what you love, and the rest will come, the wins, the money, the whatever it is you're after.
Yes. And don't feel pressure to do what you love. I mean, the passion may come over time. You can just start, and then over time you get different directions, and you know, you develop that passion over time. So just start too. And
be okay to fail. Like, you're coming up with hacks, you're trying to come up with solutions. Half of them are going to fail. Like, if I had to tell you all the things I failed at, like, I failed my seafood restaurant. I failed big. My seafood restaurant. I did a sustainable seafood restaurant.
Yes.
I couldn't run around the fishermen anymore, trying to get the fish, trying to do all these different things, the staff, the HR. I mean, so, you know, you fail, but I learned so much in failing, right? So in order to get your best solution, you have to be prepared to.
It's not failure.
And sometimes, it's not really failure. It's learning opportunities. People will call it failure, and it's okay. I'm totally comfortable with that word. I like it. It's a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
And I always do better. And you know, when people criticize and complain, or you know, are not quite on board, you're surprised to know that just being determined, being committed to your cause, your passion, your project, your program, eventually folks will come around, you know. And even when you think people are not listening, they're listening. They're paying attention, and slowly their behaviors are changing, and you're influencing way more people than you think. And in my very last words, there's a quote that I sometimes can't remember all the words for, and I've just saved it on my phone because I think it's really important for you to hear. And it's, I don't know, I can't remember who said it, but never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Doesn't take a whole, like, big old team.
Yeah.
Just one or two of you is going to catch, right? And that's all you need. There is so much power in just one person. Look at all the things that I have done, Little Vita, with nothing. I didn't even have the money. You know what I mean? So, right. Okay. So please, you know, just don't be conscious of the numbers. Just think about your impact, your purpose. Okay. Stay blessed, everybody.
Thank you so much, Vita. You've definitely inspired a fire inside of me now. Definitely gonna go off and share. This session is such a powerful session. Thank you so much to all